All right, Saagar, what are you looking at?
Well, something I've long emphasized here at Breaking Points is the importance of the US birth rate, its death rate, and the causes of death and life expectancy. The most basic job of a civilization is to replace itself. It's hardwired into our DNA. It's something that modernity has largely led people to stray away from, for a variety of reasons. Over the last few years, the story has been the same. Americans are having fewer children, they're getting married less, and they are dying much earlier. The contradiction of our lifespan hit a major crisis in 2021 when deaths of despair combined with COVID dropped life expectancy at the most precipitous rate since the 1920s. That's a trend you mostly see in third world countries, one that mirrors what began to happen in the former Soviet Union right before its collapse. It's bleak. But underneath is a fascinating, perhaps hopeful trend for all of us, a mini baby boom that nobody expected, and tells us a lot about what types of pronatal policies actually might work in America. A new paper, which is published by the National Bureau of Economic Research, finds an unexpected increase in U.S. fertility rates during the pandemic. Fertility rates declined in 2020 and were expected to continue doing so, possibly for decades, but something very odd happened instead. In 2021, the trend completely reversed and in fact increased for the first time since 2007, effectively reversing the carnage of the Great Recession for the very first time. How did something so remarkable occur that nobody planned for? To find the answer, let's take a step back. How bad things are. From 2007 to 2020, the US TFR total fertility rate, which measures the average number of children expected over a woman's lifetime, declined from 2.1 to 1.6. That's a disaster, because 2.1 is the bare minimum a society must maintain in order to replace the number of living individuals. Otherwise, your age pyramid reverses, and soon you have too many old people relying on the young. Take it to its logical conclusion, you end up like Japan, something we desperately need to avoid. The pandemic, in its early data, seemed like it was going to be even further of a nightmare. The fertility rate dropped a further 2%, more than normal, expected during lockdowns. But then things reversed nearly overnight in 2021. Not only reversed, but actually increased over pre-pandemic trend, a total of 6.2%. That 6.2% not only is the very first increase since 2007, it was enough to reverse 2 years of trends in a single year. Again, unheard of in modern times. So, who was having kids? First and most surprising is that the biggest baby bump happened amongst women who were under the age of 25. This is especially stunning because for years, the trend lines have suggested that US families and women desired to have children much later in life, year over year. Furthermore, the big baby bump actually happened amongst another population, women between the age of 30 and 34. But when you dig into education data, it's even more interesting. Women between the age of 25 and 44 with a college degree or more had the biggest bump of all three groups. So, what lesson do we have here? Very profound ones that actually strike at the heart of a lot of debates around modern feminism and what actually good family policy looks like. For years, debates have raged in the West as how to boost TFR rates and ensure a population replaces itself. The internationalist response is simple. Don't boost domestic kids, just let more immigrants in. On the furthest right of the spectrum is the opposite. Let no immigrants in, throw as much cash at the population as possible to get them to have more kids. The former is the Germany model. The latter would be called the Hungarian model. As the Germans found out, it doesn't work because the populace revolts across the continent. And as the Hungarians have found out, their policies have worked only to a limited extent and not even close to the degree they have wanted to. Somewhere in the middle is where the US debate lies, a mix of immigration and family incentives. The left mostly wanting more immigration and specifically more childcare subsidies, the right wanting less immigration, and then various different mixes of fiscal conservatism and idiocy. I have always favored a more hybrid approach, which I believe is borne out in this data. Less unskilled immigration and flexible cash incentives to parents who can use them on childcare if they wish or to stay at home if they want. First and foremost is the reason why births dropped first place in 2020. One of the under-noticed part of this study finds that the drop in fertility rate was entirely because of lack of immigration inflows to the US. In effect, the drop was not because Americans were having less kids, it was because we were letting basically nobody in during the pandemic. So actually, the behavior of citizens really didn't change that much. Second is the fact that American women, when given more work flexibility via remote work, chose to have a lot more children, especially those who were college educated. And that proves a central critique that people who have really been only talking about childcare have long discarded. Many women don't want more childcare. They want to spend more time with their children at home, if they are able, and still work. Just until the pandemic, technology was not normalized, those conditions really aligned. Third is the fact that younger women chose to start a family much earlier when not faced with the prospect of only having to go to work or do nothing else. There is something deeply profound about seeing that data, validating the fact that work is in fact a detriment to both family formation and civilization. The solution is not to, quote, send women back to the kitchen. It's to give women options to do whatever they want. Fascinatingly enough, it turns out many chose to have children. Even if you disagree on immigration, at least take away this. The crime here is the current situation only works for college-educated women. Luckily enough to have jobs where they can work from home. Working class women or house moms deserve the same flexible conditions that upper classes have now been afforded by the remote work revolution. Right now in the US, having a child is a luxury good, and the mini baby boom amongst the college-educated proves it. But it's not just money, it's time and it's flexibility. That's what shift workers and those who work in the service industry, they lack freedom more than anything. And it's something our government actually can give them if they so choose. So, let the data be a lesson. Simply freeing people up can have amazing results. Let it also show that the solution was under our nose the whole time. Let people do whatever they want. And when you do, you can actually have some pretty crazy things happen. I mean, I thought it was amazing to see that.
It's very
boom.
interesting.
And why?
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.